So it's been an eventful day for me, but only in the sense that enough people have failed to be human um, near me in sort of concentric circles of, well, you can't say engagement because I don't think any of these people on people I'm talking about are fairly recent acquaintances. But I mean, on either side of the North-South divide, um, it's very bad. We almost have something now as dysfunctional as the duopoly, but going on like globally. You know, the duopoly is never just the parties. The duopoly is also sort of, it's like a symbol because it is that, but it's only a piece of it. It represents it, but it would be stopped. The parties aren't in the Constitution. We could end them tomorrow. Very easy to end the parties. Not a problem. Really dumb to make another one. Phenomenally stupid. But you don't think. You don't think because you go into your separate cubicles and then you write down things about what we should do in your separate cubicle. That is not it. Now, I don't know anymore what a college educated, a white professional is supposed to have learned. But I mean, nothing is what you find with the affluent. They learned nothing. Maybe they didn't even attend. Maybe it's just a degree because they don't know how to think. But the more terrifying and I think actually certain way to make sense of it, the more certain explanation, like there's really no way to doubt that this is right, is that you're such lazy asses. You're so ready to let everything be somebody else's job and then bitch about it because they didn't do it right, that you've left the rich to their own devices much more than they've severed themselves from you. You've just abandoned the whole field. And they filled the vacuum. That's actually provable in America, but I don't want to prove it. I want to tell you that you have to think like my dad taught me to think when he taught me to draw about negative space. If you're getting impatient with your progress, trying to learn to sketch just, sort of representationally to it in a way that pleases you, that lets you draw things in a way that you're satisfied with. What he would say is, well, try going back and forth between these two things. First, don't look at anything except the outer edge of whatever you're drawing. Look at that shape of just the contour. But then flip it and look at the contour of everything but that. The space where it is not. And again, just the contour. So not each object where it isn't, but the entirety of the space where it is not. Well, everything that happens in DC, folks, is happening because the affluent are not present mentally or emotionally or spiritually or in any way that would allow them to serve life or even notice it, that it exists, or that they're participating in it. Because they're part of life on Earth, but they don't even know that they're alive, period. And they're certain that while nature might be a nice place to visit, no one lives there. They're in the floating, disconnected from everything. That's what happens when you're a dominator. Sooner or later, because everyone else is doing all the work, everything that would have woven you together with the people and place where you live in a way that is vital and life affirming, and made you feel that you were bigger than your body, part of something infinitely larger and more conversational that doesn't die. And because it doesn't die, is always growing. Life on Earth, always growing. It's just that it can't grow out into the vacuum of space. It's always growing. Because we are born not to die, but to give life. That's what living is giving life. You give life to an idea. The artist gives life to a vision. Relationships, when they're enlivening, because somebody is giving life to them. But then there are people who never give. And it's not the same as greed at all. This is much more like they didn't remember. It's very bad. And it can happen to anybody. Sort of by definition, if it does happen to anybody, it could happen to anybody. But again, everything like that sounds like, oh, that might be, it's nice, but it's not helpful. Not when we're talking about realities that require action. No, that does not, by the way, mean. That's not a synonym for bad. If it's only now possible to make sure of this or that happening because of some combination of historical and technological change, if something's become possible and now it's also necessary and we really want to do it, it's perfectly legit to be talking about it. It's not legit to be talking about it if it's like not within light years of adequate for the larger crisis that threatens everything, then you can't talk about it as if it were. That's how we got into trouble. But we should be very clear about one thing. This dysfunctional anger in our politics, the problem is complicated. Part of the anger is our anger at ourselves. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm going to tell you something that is simply the truth. It's a truth that I see, and that if you were not sort of actively preventing me, I could help you to see. It's that kind of truth. You'd see it the minute you let me help you. And that truth is that to the extent there's something called a good person who, given the option, will more or less consistently choose harmonious, nonviolent relations with the other beings in their midst. That's everybody, uniformly. There is zero moral difference between us. How we come to be so different is interesting. When we're in the public part of life, when we're talking about something, because we have to, because each life is accountable to all life, including the lives of those not yet born. We have to. By the time something's that important, that it's necessary for all to claim ownership of it, it is utterly inappropriate to talk about it in any other way than that. Just talk about it that way. There may be a billion other things about it that are interesting. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. We don't need them yet. What we need is to solve the problem. You don't arrive at an urgent crisis and whip out your 1,400-page idiosyncratic volume on the answer to everything and then demand we all learn it. That's a very common response among the affluent to global warming. Oh, well, this is what I think about absolutely everything but global warming, and I'd like you all to learn it so that we don't have problems like this anymore. Do you know how many of those there are? It's an ungodly number. Narcissism is not limited to the easy targets. My God, man. The stuff I see, the stuff I have to deal with, it's heartbreaking. If what you're there for is saving lives, and there's somebody else there who doesn't give a flying frack, who only wants the approval of a wealthy elite. People who never got over it. But they couldn't penetrate the elite. They got the Harvard education. They had the oppressed childhood. Shouldn't they be able now to matter? No. Nope. Let me just say no. I mean, why would you ever have that thought? It's so grotesque. And I'm sorry, but these people that everyone treats as if they were just, the greatest and nicest thing since sliced bread, no, they're never nice. I'm not going to name this person, but I'm going to tell you one heck of a little anecdote. It gets us right to the heart of everything. In fact, just to be fair, I'll distribute. I will not name, and I will even conflate a little bit qualities, just because I am not interested in ever hearing from anyone about these people, let alone these people, ever again. They're wonderful teaching stories. And when you have to put up with something this unpleasant, you have a right afterwards to use the people involved as teaching stories. They want to try to reciprocate. They can go right ahead. So here's my teaching story. There's a just unbelievably willful possessor, appropriator of crises. That's her actual gift, is a crises appropriation. But what she tells people her gift is she's some sort of expert at how modern complex societies solve their problems because of some sort of systems theory or blah, blah, blah. The whole problem is, listen right from the top. What is she saying again that she's an expert in? Oh, how societies successfully transform themselves. And when did that happen again? Never. None of her examples are relevant. She doesn't understand the word transformation at all. She didn't know that there was such a thing as political power. She didn't know that political power was an end in itself. She didn't know anything about its inseparability from the people, plural. Now, the people, plural, is the dumbest thing to have to say, but it is a very confusing thing in America where the little tiny progress we made towards becoming less dehumanized, towards decolonizing ourselves, and making amends to the victims, the primary victims of colonization, and in the process making amends to all life on Earth, and begging to be readmitted into the family of life would be appropriate. Life would answer that kindly, generously. You've left nothing. You've left life nothing. Life wants to give. You're so unreceptive. It's impossible. I'm quitting because of you. I'm not quitting life, I'm quitting you. But I'm telling everyone, America's political system will never function again. It's been in a state of devolution. And when a political system is a little different than government, a political system involves everybody who tolerates it. And that's how liberal societies are. You can't pretend to be shocked by that. They're explicitly that way. It's passive consent. It's not participatory. It's passive. It's inferred consent. So, you'll never, ever, ever, if you're a person of power, have a god-darned thing, an affluent person of power, you'll never have a complaint of that kind. Who needs them? Why would you want them? What is the point of that? Could you just try even to be alive here and now? Because if you were alive here and now, as a human being here and now, and being human here and now, isn't it obvious even to you that you wouldn't be defending past failures and a person to whom, in your mind, those failures, those sins of omission and commission correspond, because identity is just something we make up. It's not real. Life on Earth needs us to be able to decide in each and every moment of life how, in this, where, and when, to be who and what we uniquely are. An identity says no. I won't ask. I won't participate. I won't be aware. I won't be part of a shared experience where awareness of the others who are sharing the experience and generating it with you, because the experience is life. The biosphere is a very busy place. And the business of the biosphere is the giving and receiving of life. It's the most fun thing there is. It's the birds and the bees, guys. But it's the buzz of creation. There isn't some other thing to go and do. That's what Jesus kept saying. Like, what the hell? That's the parable of the feast. Right? The guy sends out the invitations to all his friends. And then, oh, no, sorry. Got to negotiate a contract. No one ever shows up. So he goes to a wider circle of acquaintances. Nope. Nobody shows up. See the problem? See the problem? It's not about the circle of friends. It's not about being in the exclusive, in club, the extra special friends. There aren't any. It's about getting the invitation and wanting to answer it. And everyone does, you ninnies. We're earthlings. Of course we want to answer it. It would be one thing if life were this terrible mistake that you always carry on about, but it isn't. You're a terrible mistake, and we're going to fix it. You could try to hear that and not announce that you're in danger. This is saving you from yourself. You're more than in danger. The science of attribution is so good. For the top 20% of the income distribution, you'll know personally very soon the bare minimum number of babies it took you to get through a year. How many African babies did you have to terminate? How many lives, new lives just starting out, did you have to retroactively abort to get through a year? The science of attribution is so good, you'll know. And you won't need that mean, old, crazy, bald guy. It'll just be you and your conscience and that. And your kids. So have fun.